Nigerians, especially Nigerian youth, this is the reason why you don't have money consistently. You never have money. This is why you graduated 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, but you still have not got a job. Your certificate is just sitting there idle because there are no jobs. This is why the Nigerian economy is so bad. This is why other countries look down on Nigeria. Your age mates all over the world are making money, living in their own homes, but you still live with your parents because you cannot afford to live on your own. You cannot even travel and see the world because no country will give you a visa because they believe you're a flight risk. Flight risk is when they give you a visitor's visa, you come into their country, you disappear in their country. You won't want to go back to your country because they know that their country is much like 100 times better than your country. This is actually the one reason why you will be refused a visa. While some countries can visit more than 180 countries visa-free without applying, without going to any embassy. They just go to the map of the world, pick somewhere to go to, and off they go. They book their flight tickets and off they go. But you can't. You can't even go to African countries. If you're a Nigerian living in Nigeria and you have experienced any of the things I mentioned before, let me tell you, it's time for you to start paying attention to the quality of leaders you vote into office, the quality and competence of people that rule you. We cannot keep saying it's not my business, it's not my business. Meanwhile, the person at the top, the person that is your president, the decisions the person makes affects your daily life, affects the value of goods in the market. Inflation, anyone? We can't keep up with the rising cost of goods in Nigeria. We can't keep up with the fall of the naira. Yeah, what I'm going to discuss today affects all these aforementioned aspects of our lives in Nigeria. Even if you're a Nigerian living outside Nigeria and you have even the tiniest plan, tiniest thought of eventually moving back to Nigeria, this video should interest you because you will be a source of influence for your family members back home that are eligible to vote. Next year is Nigeria's major election, presidential election. For 8 years, okay, let's say 7 years, we've been crying. Oh, Buhari has killed us. The value of naira is dropping. Prices of goods and services, insecurity is getting bad. Now is another opportunity for us to select a good leader. And luckily for us, this time, there's a man called Peter Obi who has experience and what it takes to fix this country. He and his partner, Baba Ahmed Dati, they have released a manifesto. Okay, before someone applies to be the president of a country, that person must have studied the problems plaguing that country and said, oh, I have an idea of how to fix this country. Then the person will go and join a political party, buy their form, do all the political shenanigans, and then become a candidate of a political party. And then that person can be on the ballot for us to vote for the person. So Peter Obi and his partner, his vice presidential candidate, have looked at the problems plaguing Nigeria for the past 7 years, and he thinks we have the solution to this. Normally, the process is to put that solution in what is called a manifesto. This is the third video in the series of reading the Obi-Dati campaign manifesto. The first video, I offered a summary of their 7-point agenda. And in the second video, we talked about their solution to insecurity. Everybody will write manifesto for you, but the question is this person capable? Is this person competent enough to take this manifesto and bring it to fruition? In today's video, we're going to talk about how they will grow the economy, how they will create jobs, how they will export more and earn more money for Nigeria so that we'll become a rich nation. This same process is what is going to make the naira stronger against the dollar. So as always, I'll read and share my thoughts on what they're saying in each section of this section, each subsection of this section. Today, we're in section 2, and it reads, shift emphasis from consumption to production, by running a production-centered economy that is driven by an agrarian revolution and export-oriented industrialization. Just like your family finances, the way a country is run is you use your natural resources to make money, and you use the money made from that to run the country. Finish. In your home, you just go outside, work, make money, use that money to feed, pay rent, pay mortgage, yeah, buy clothing, send your kids to school and all that. So for a country, you look around in your country and say, oh, this is our territory. What and what can we sell to make money? As we all know, we have oil. We're already selling that, but the money from oil is no longer enough. That's why P2B keeps saying there's nothing more to share. This year, no money was paid into the excess crude account. Everybody heard that. And we have land in what is known as quantum. Like, we have a lot of land, and fertile land at that. Nigeria is geographically situated in a location with the best climate, the most fertile land in the world. If Nigeria were a developed country, it would have been a most requested holiday destination because it has the perfect weather conditions and the perfect fertile land. We have a lot of land. Believe it or not, some states in Nigeria have more land than some countries in this Europe. Yet, these countries in Europe that do not have the perfect climate for agriculture, they spend a lot in simulating the kind of weather we have for free in Nigeria. And then they produce a lot of crops for consumption and for export. And they make a lot more money, many times more money than we make from our oil, this oil that all of us are depending on. Our leaders are not interested in developing our agriculture, our arable land, to its full potential. The only thing they do is they make money from oil, a little bit from agriculture, and all the governors from the 36 states will go to Abuja and get their share, depending on if you come from an oil producing state or not. So they give them their share and they go pocket more than half of them, use the other one to do whatever they want to do and be marking time till the end of their tenure. So that's what we are doing in Nigeria, which is called a consumption economy. We just sell oil and consume it. While other countries, what they do to develop their countries is they use that money they made, natural resources, the free gift from nature, they sell that, use that to develop so many other aspects of their country. That's why they have a lot of things going for them, and we envy them. We see them as developed countries. Meanwhile, Nigeria has a lot more natural resources than some of these countries, but we are not making good use of it. Why? Incompetent leaders. So we need to vote in competent people, people who have managed companies before, successfully managed companies before, individuals who have created wealth. And we know that P2B and Dati Baba Ahmed, they have this. Dati Baba Ahmed owns 2 private universities. P2B has managed a lot of, he has created his own wealth. He's a businessman, he's a trader according to him, and he has managed a lot of high-profile companies in Nigeria, financial institutions in Nigeria. So let's start moving from section to section. 1, the total factor productivity is the ability of a country to turn its resources, to make its resources productive. How much of the money you're making from oil are you putting back into agriculture? And what are you getting at the other end? It's very low for us. We're supposed to be the biggest economy in Africa. The only reason for that is that we have a huge population. So they consider us the biggest economy, but we are not competitive. For the size of our economy, we should be doing more, but we're not. We're just sitting, relaxed, like, where is the money? Let's share and put in our pockets. We're not using our money to grow the economy. We also have low export competitiveness index. This ECI is the ratio of your exports to your import. If you import everything and you hardly export, your ECI will be very low, which is the case with Nigeria. We do not export as much as we could. So we need to be exporting much more than we do now so that we can be earning the foreign exchange. And that's the only way that we can build the economy, we can create jobs, and make the naira stronger against the foreign currencies. 2, remember in previous videos in this series, I talked about the fact that every country that wanted to grow their economy, they've been following the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. PWB followed it when he was governor of Anambra State. Nigeria as a country did not follow that. So I'm guessing that's what they're talking about here. They reviewed it because the world has gone beyond MDGs. The world is now in SDGs, which is Sustainable Development Goals. So they're going to go back there. The previous ones, we are lagging behind, much behind. So they're going to go there and pick and choose the ones that we need to fast track so that we can at least catch up with the rest of the world. Number 3, the Nigerian 36 states are not equal. For instance, a state like Anambra State, you cannot compare it to a state like Niger State in terms of land mass. So while you can grow rice, yam in Anambra State, we know we can grow a lot more food based on their climate in Niger State. There are a lot of temperate crops that can grow very well, that can be grown in these areas that you cannot grow in the very rainy southern Nigeria, or even in the coastal states like Bayelsa State. So maybe a place like Bayelsa State, because it's a coastal state, you focus on getting the blue economy, which is like fisheries and all those things, seaports and all that. You can grow that part. So every state in Nigeria is unique in its own way. There's something that every state will offer. So what they're trying to say in this number 3 is that with policies and programs that are going to optimize each state to its full potential. For instance, here they said optimize the vast land and other resources, for instance, in the north. And by now, they would have dealt with banditry, kidnapping, you know, all the terrorism, all the insecurity going on in most parts of the northern Nigeria, where you have all these farmlands. So they will be able to go in there and enhance food security. Number 4, like we all know, we have this major issue of unqualified artisans in Nigeria. So you can imagine a country where you don't have to come to me to ask me for my contractor. Where is your contractor? Normally, there are certifications for them. They have training schools where they go and receive these trainings, 6 weeks, some 12 weeks, some 6 months courses. And they go there and they are certified by someone, not by bribery. They are certified, not a situation where they go for 2 weeks and they're already carrying tools around. No, they are qualified. Then they have a central directory where you can go and just look up any artisan there. I need a plumber. You look up the plumber, look up their phone number, and you call them, because you know you're living in a country that certifies its artisans. So any artisan that you call up is qualified to do the job. Of course, some of them will be more qualified than the other, but then at least all of them will meet the minimum requirements for certification before they're given the certificate to go out in the world and pose as plumbers and carpenters and bricklayers. So by then you won't need to come to me. Can you give me your carpenter? Can you give me your mason? No, there won't be any need anymore. They won't be wasting our money. And then strengthen some of the existing tertiary schools of science and engineering so that we can train the next generation of STEM is the future. In fact, it's already in existence. All these tech things. So it's not just in casual laborers or blue-collar artisans. They are going to train everybody. Whatever you want to be in life, you will be it. The government will create the environment for you to be what you want to be. If you choose to be an artisan, you'll find a job. Not in a situation where it's only those that studied the professional courses, medical doctors, engineers, pharmacists, and lawyers. Any other thing that you study is a disgrace. You're a disgrace. No, that's not the situation. In every society, in every country, everybody is important, from the laborers up to the very, very high-tech people. Everybody contributes to the growth of the country's economy. Everybody is important. And after they've done this, there will be dignity of labor. Nobody will be looked down on anymore. Yeah, because if you're earning your cash, because at the end of the day, it's all about the amount of money you earn. If you're earning your cool cash, nobody will come and look down on you, because if a doctor can buy a car, you too, as a bricklayer can buy a car. As long as you're earning steady income, you can go and buy a car on credit. That's what they do in all these developed countries. Nobody ever goes to a car shop and pays cash for a car. No, they buy a car and pay it over 5 years. It's because they have a job. All they need to hear is that you are working. Give me your pay slip. And they see you're working. Give me your job contract and employment contract. You give the person, they know, okay, you are assured you have a job, so you can be paying for this car in the next foreseeable future. So that's how an economy grows. I mean, a lot of people need cars in Nigeria, but they cannot afford to buy a car. But if there are jobs, everybody will be able to afford to buy a car, at least on credit, and be paying it little by little. And then create a venture capital-like fund for young entrepreneurs, assuming you want to start a business now. When your government knows you by name, they'll be able to give you money, give you a loan, because it's controlled, it's checked. There's a checking system for them to find you when they need you. So you cannot just take the money and run away. The reason why people are not getting loans easily from the government now is because the government doesn't know you by name. You can run away and they won't find you ever, but there will be a system in place for them to be able to find you. The easier for them to find you when they want to look for you, the easier they will give you a loan. If they're monitoring that your business, if like whatever you set up, they will be able to trace you, so you can't run away. And when they trust that you can't run away, they will give you the loan. Number 5, they're talking about incentives. They're going to give incentives, because when you create an enabling environment for even local investors, foreign investors, because there are a lot of people that have money in the world, they are looking for where to invest. And once they see, hey, the economy of this country is booming, they will take that, because like countries, all these developed countries are saturated already. You don't make a lot of money in those countries. So when these people that have money sitting around looking for where to invest, they see an upcoming economy that is booming, that is giving you more return on your investment, that has a lot of incentives for you to come and invest, you rush there and go and invest. In fact, those people will be the ones begging to bring their business to Africa, to Nigeria in particular. Then number 6, how many of you have started business? Like by the time you transport your goods, bring it to where you are, transport, driver will tell you long story, they will delay, you lose money. You know, time is money. You lose money, and by the time the goods arrive, you're just selling to make back your capital if you can. You're not even talking about gain anymore. Before you know it, you will not be able to maintain the business. That's how you just sell off everything, and the business dies a natural death. The logistic cost at our port. Have you ever imported anything into Nigeria? One of my friends imported a car. But you know Nigeria now, story upon story. By the time they finished clearing that good, they paid about 1.2 million naira more on the amount that they thought they would spend. You know, the clearing agent told them, let's say the clearing agent told them that they would spend 800,000 naira to clear the car. But they ended up spending 2 million naira to clear the car. Can you imagine? In Nigeria, that's the cost of something is so unpredictable. In stable economies, you can stay in your home even before you import the thing. You can press calculator and find out how much money you make from that. And it will remain so in the next few months, but not in Nigeria, no. So they're going to dismantle the impediments to free trade and the ease of doing business. Number 7, this part is very, 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 very important. This number 7. You know, in Nigeria, what they do is, if they are used to allocating 6% to education, which is actually what they're doing now, every single year they'll allocate 6% to education. It doesn't matter if the education sector needs more money in that particular year. They're just doing copy and paste. You know, when people are incompetent, they don't know what to do with the resources they have. They don't know how to manage it. Our current leaders do not know how to manage our resources. We have the resources, but it's the management that is the problem. So this zero-based national budget is every single year you sit down and draw up a budget based on what the country needs. Do you know that when Peter Obi was in Anambra State, this information was revealed by either Mrs. Stella Okonna or the Commissioner for Finance? I can't remember. I listened to both of their spaces. I can't remember who said it, but one of them said that every single budget they sit down and have a meeting with stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people in different sectors of the economy, And then so that they will know where the money will go to. Because it's from sitting with those people, you know what their problems are, that you now say, oh, we allocated 10% to education last year. This year, we've solved a majority of the problem in education. Instead of allocating 10% again, that will be sitting idle there, that will not be utilized for education. You will find out by that feasibility study that you no longer need to, because you've invested a lot for maybe a few years, that most of the problems in education has been solved. So maybe this year it's only 2% that needs to be. You understand? And then you take that excess 8% from there and go and find somewhere else to put it. The most important thing in the world, in the financial life, is making your money work harder for you. You don't put your money in places where they are not needed. Meanwhile, there are some sectors that need the money. That's what they mean by zero-based. So every single year, they're going to have a review and see which sectors need more money and which ones need less, stuff like that, so that it will be more efficient. We will pursue an aggressive technology-driven public sector financial management system anchored on reformed, well-trained, and motivated civil service. Yeah, when you train people and when people see a new way of working, because maybe initially they will resist it because it's something new and people don't like change. But when they see that it's more efficient, it's working more, it's growing the economy, they are getting salary increases, why wouldn't they follow it? It's very easy to change people's mindset. The way Nigeria is going in terms of corruption and everything is because of our mindset. But mindset can be changed. The reform is very, very important because the decay in the civil service, oh my God, we don't want to talk about it now. Number 8, you know that recently the new figure is 133 million people. So subtract 95 million from that. That's the increase from April to now. How many more people have been thrown into poverty in this country? Can you imagine? It's getting worse. How many million people are we? 200 million people, and already more than half of those people are living under poverty. This can only increase insecurity in Nigeria, because a lot of people will go into the life of crime more and more if this country is not saved in 2023. Unemployment rate hovers around 32%, with the youth component at about 53.4%. What this means is 32% of adults that should be working in Nigeria do not have a job. 32%, that's 1/3. Then you begin to wonder, how do people eat in this country? This cannot continue. And then out of those 32% of people, maybe from age 16, I don't even know what is the official age for working in Nigeria. Where I live, in Spain, it's 16 years. So assuming it's the same in Nigeria, from 16 years to 65 years, which is age of retirement in Nigeria, every adult that is supposed to be working that doesn't have a job, 53.4%, more than half of them are youth. Tax contributes only about 6% to our GDP. So 6% only from taxes. That will tell you the number of people that are jobless in Nigeria. If there are jobs, people will be paying taxes. The more people you give jobs, the more money you make from taxes. Do you know that some of these European countries, they run their countries mostly on tax? Mostly. Because some of them are not even great tourist destinations. The country where I live in, tourism brings a lot of money for them because it's a great tourist destination in the world. A lot of people want to come to Spain for holidays, so they make money from there. And then taxes. Taxes are a direct reflection of the number of people you've provided jobs for in your country. 6% is too poor. You can imagine the average in Africa, African countries is 17%. Meanwhile, Nigeria, the so-called giant of Africa, is making only 6%, like 6%. This is about 1/3 of the average percentage. This is too poor. It's too poor for a country of our population. Do you know what our population is? Nigerian government should be making a lot more than this if they create jobs. Our national situation is made worse given that 116% of government revenue is now devoted to debt servicing. Let me put this in perspective. If you're earning 100 naira per month as salary, you're owing 116 naira. That's what it means. So even your monthly salary, if you collect your salary like this and go and want to use it to pay the money that you're owing, you cannot. You need to borrow more. And this is month on month, or it's not like one-off. This is the amount of money you owe every single month. So you can imagine, you will never finish paying off that money, because you take all the money, you won't even eat, you won't live in a house, you won't clothe yourself. You just take the salary and go and give the people you're owing. And then go and, because they are on your neck, you must pay that 116% every month, for instance. The 16 naira remaining, because you earn 100 naira, you went and paid. The remaining 16 naira, no? You go and borrow another person 16 naira to pay them, because if you don't pay these people, they will even stop giving you loan. So you want to maintain kind of a good relationship with them. You're owing these people now and you're owing another person. Month on month on month. And you know, this thing multiplies. So we're in very, very, very dire situation. We need to start retracing our steps as soon as possible. Number 9, we shall aggressively prioritize the mechanization of the huge endowment of arable land across our nation, particularly in our northern region, to make agriculture the new oil of a prosperous Nigerian economy. We've been practicing mostly subsistence farming, where you just grow what you eat. But we need to mechanize farming so that we can produce more, because there's only so much human energy can do. Yeah. If you're serious about producing enough food for consumption and enough excess for export, you need to mechanize it. So that's what they're trying to say here. Number 10, there's a fund, $3 trillion fund. But you know, these funds is not just something you go and apply for. You have to show proof that you're committed to using the fund judiciously. Some of these funds are not even loans. The money is just like when Peter Obi was the governor of Anambra State and following the MDGs, he was receiving a lot of funds from outside Nigeria, those that are supporting the goals, because they want to see that you're implementing the goals and you're giving them reports. And when they see the reports, that's why he won the award for the governor that achieved most with the MDGs. They just need measurable progress. They need to see that you're implementing the money. So once you're committed to the green energy and using sustainable practices as you're growing your economy, all these funds will be available to the country for free. You don't even need to, by the time you tap into all these free funds, you don't even need to borrow money to do some of these things, because there are funds there to encourage countries that are ready to do it. But due to incompetence, our leaders are not tapping into all these free money. Can you imagine? They said there's free money for you to use to grow your economy, but people are not doing it. All you need to do is do it, like set procedures in place to do it, and then the funds will be there for you. But still, free money, oh. Incompetence is a bad thing. Let's see these indicators of the direction the country is going. Budget deficit, percentage of GDP. GDP is money you generate. This negative number here means that we cannot finance our budget without borrowing. So they budget all these trillions of naira. This year is 20-something trillion. It keeps increasing. Yet they're not making enough money. So you can see in 2014, just before Buhari came in, we had a little bit of budget deficit, about 1% of our GDP. But 6 years later, in 2020, the deficit was 4% of our GDP. This year, based on the 2023 budget that Buhari has submitted, it's 4.78%. You can see that the deficit is always increasing year on year. The proposed budget for next year, the money they want to spend is 20.5 trillion naira. Meanwhile, the money they're expecting as income, based on the projected oil price, is 9-point-something trillion. Is that not a loss? So the only way they can finance the budget is to borrow money. If you're an individual earning 50,000 naira, but you need to make expenses worth 100,000 naira, are you not a failure like this? In 2014, our debt to GDP, that's the money we were owing, was 13.7% of our GDP. GDP is the money we earned as a country. 6 years later, in 2020, it has risen to a whopping 34.6%, almost 3 times. Chayo. Who knows what it is now? Let's Google it. You can see 2020, 2021, 36.63%, 2022, 37.35%. And for 2023, it's projected that it will be 38.56%, already 3 times what it was when Buhari came in. Now you can see it in black and white how Buhari destroyed this economy. This means that if we're earning 100 naira, we are owing 39 naira out of that money. Unless we do something in 2023 to vote out these tombon leaders, we are in trouble. Oh, vote Peter Obi before it's too late. Official exchange rate. They are doing round tripping with our currency. They have parallel rates. Right now it's around 400 and something. Meanwhile, you know that the exchange rate to the dollar is 700 and something. This is the amount that the masses, you and I, have access to. They sell this money to themselves and then they come back to the streets and sell them to us. So they're just making money with our money. Yeah, they are enjoying the fact that they have 2 parallel rates. It's only in Nigeria that I've ever seen it. I've never seen it anywhere else in the world where like the parallel rate is like half of the black market rate. Meanwhile, the masses only have access to the black market rate. If you want to import something to Nigeria now, you use the black market rate. This keeps the value of goods, the cost of goods high. If you want to pay for school fees abroad, you use the black market rate because you cannot continue to wait for them. You go to the bank and apply for this thing. They will tell you it's not available because they've given the money to their people to come and sell back to you on the streets. So you only have access to the black market rate. And then inflation, after 6 years, they have managed to double the inflation. Inflation is the cost of goods and services. Yeah. What you were buying for 10 naira in 2014, it means that you're now buying it for 20 naira after 6 years. After only 6 years. Current account balance, percentage of GDP. I don't understand this one. I don't know what this one is. Who knows what this is? But this is a graphical representation of everything they said above. And then this graph comparing Angola to Nigeria is our ability to borrow money. You can see that we have more risk. So we're paying a higher percentage probably when we borrow money. That's how I understand this. When we borrow money, because they see us as a risky country because Nigeria is becoming a failed state if it hasn't been. So it's much more riskier to lend us money. So for 2021 and 2022, Angola has pretty much remained stable, but Nigeria, the risk of Nigeria's risk is steadily increasing. That means if they lend money to us, they will charge us higher percentage. Number 11, this scaling up is increasing in quantity. We can produce more. We haven't even reached like half of our potential, even though it has been increasing in recent time, but we still haven't scratched the surface in terms of reaching our full potential. This is so you need to scale up, like increase astronomically the quantity of food we are processing to start with. Comparative advantage, there are crops that can be grown in Nigeria that cannot be grown elsewhere, that all they need is make it available in Nigeria, we will come and buy. Like Peter Obi says in his speeches, we have the Mambila Plateau where we can grow flowers, grow tea, but we don't. Even if we do, it's just in very minute quantities that Nigeria cannot even be called a country. Not enough for us to be called a country that produces tea or cultivates flowers, something like that. So we have the weather. All we have to do is do it. A lot of people have business ideas, but they don't have access to funds. So the government is going to provide a monitor scheme. Yeah, they don't just give you money and you go and squander. No, they are going to follow you up, even train you to make sure that your plant, if you're a farmer, when they give you money, they train you and tell you about maybe high yield crops or something like that, high yield seedlings that you can plant that will perform better than your normal seedlings with blights. Nigeria does not have an enabling environment for doing business. Hey, the transportation, the bad roads and all those things. For instance, if you produce tomatoes in the north now, do you see how they load it in lorries, one on top of each other on open basket? But if it's abroad, they transport it on refrigerated articulated vehicles so that they will have racks inside it and transport it, good roads, no falling off trailer and all those things. So they will transport the tomatoes from Jos to where? Port Harcourt without a dent. By the time they arrive in Port Harcourt and are putting it out in the market, the tomatoes will still be strong and fresh. Yeah, you know, all these developed countries, it's not everything that they will buy from you. You cannot come and the other day I was talking about industries that only wash potatoes. They can only just bring potatoes from farm, they wash off the soil, sort out the ones that have dents, were eaten by insects and all that. Here, we have so many varieties of potatoes. You have potatoes that are best for boiling, potatoes that are best for mashed potatoes, potatoes that are best for frying, for making potato chips. There was a time I heard that was it Burger King, one of these fast food chains in Nigeria, was buying potatoes outside Nigeria, importing potatoes in Nigeria. Meanwhile, we can produce potatoes in Nigeria. It's just because the potatoes in Nigeria, maybe it does not meet their quality. Who knows? I don't blame them. They want to satisfy their customers. So if we do all these crops development, we can come up with the right variety. When they think about potatoes, they will remember Nigeria, you know, something like that. And you'll be able to compete in global market. All those countries will be rushing you to come and buy from you. This Joe cluster, in the north, maybe in 3 states, they can decide to build a factory for food processing. Because some of these exports, you don't export them raw like that. They may require, like I said in previous videos, it may require some pre-processing. So they will situate such factories there. Maybe to serve, you see, you check the amount of food that is produced from these 3 states or these 2 states. You situate one big, massive industry there that will provide jobs as well as process these goods quick. You don't want to, like in Nigeria, sometimes they say they build the refinery in Kaduna. Meanwhile, the oil is in the south. Does it make sense to you? And then you start constructing pipelines, expensive pipelines up to the north. Why can't you situate that refinery very close to where the oil is? They only depend on oil. They don't know how to develop other aspects of our economy. Because of oil, because so that those in the north will feel like they're part of the country and then you go and situate a refinery all the way in Kaduna. It doesn't make sense, even to a child, even to a layman, it doesn't make sense. So these agro industries, they were not going to keep them in Lagos or in Port Harcourt. They're going to keep them right there in the north, very close to the massive farmland. It's only capable, qualified people, competent people that can do all these things. Everybody will write manifesto for you, but the question is this person capable? Is this person competent enough to take this manifesto and bring it to fruition? That's what you should be asking yourself. This is number 12 now. We will prioritize the exploration of the economic opportunities available through ocean and marine resources around our country. We have a long coastline in Nigeria. We can make a lot of money from the sea, not just oil exploration. Nigeria possesses one of the longest ocean lines in Africa, making it a littoral country endowed with blue economy resources. Yeah, some countries that don't have long coastlines or cannot afford to build their ports, they can be importing through us. Countries like Cameroon, they can decide, oh, it's actually easier to import through Nigeria. Countries like Nigerian Republic, they don't have, they're landlocked, so they can import from Nigeria. And we make money from that. You know, people underestimate the power of the ocean. On my food channel, they usually tell me, when I release a recipe, I use sardines. So they'll be like, sardines are so expensive now. We can't afford sardines and all that. Sardine is just one of the cheapest fish everywhere. But Nigeria, we cannot make sardine, tin sardine. We don't have any industry that makes tin sardine. Everything is imported from China. Shame on us. Shame on us that we are looking the other way and the few people in power are siphoning our money instead of using it to develop our economy. Nigeria can be developed to be beyond all these countries we run to. I'm telling you. We need to start looking. We need to start paying attention. Number 13. Yeah, in Nigeria, part of the reason why our roads deteriorate so fast is that all these heavy-duty vehicles, like on our roads, you see the tire impression of heavy trucks make on our roads. And you'll be wondering, why do these roads deteriorate quickly? It's because it's poor quality. No, it's not. Rail can withstand, because it's iron, it can withstand more heavy loads. That's what they use to transport those things. But in Nigeria, everything is by road. Everything by road. The rail system is non-existent. It's the other day that Buhari started building some, which we cannot even comfortably use because of insecurity. Sometimes you can use vessels on the sea, but for instance, the Niger River is not dredged. So the only place you can bring the ship is to the coastlines. You cannot come inwards. You cannot, because it's not dredged. It's too shallow to take heavy ships. But in other countries, logistically, to improve the logistics, they're going to make it possible for these ships to come in, especially a place like Onitsha. If we import 100 containers into Nigeria, trust me, 80% of them are going to Onitsha. Onitsha with a river beside it, a big river like River Niger beside it, is supposed to have an ability for ships to come right in there and deposit their containers there for them, instead of putting it all the way in Lagos. And then you carry it by road, destroying our roads. Oh dear, for this our country. This our country amazes me. Amazes me. Things that are no-brainers. Even, you don't need to be an economist to know these things. It's just common sense, but our leaders don't want to do it. And that's the graph of our export and import structure. You see, oil is 76%. Dependence on oil is very bad. Agricultural goods is only 1.4%. Madre mia. Agricultural goods, 1.4%. With all this land that we have, with all this fertile land that we have, beacon. Hey! Hello. Abomination. And then, which one is this yellow that is 11%? Manufactured goods. Only what? 11%. We can have much more. We can have much more on this, because we have, when we start producing enough crops, we'll have enough raw materials, and we can also explore our other natural minerals. We have natural minerals that we extract and export to Asian countries, and they'll use it to build phones. These phones, there are some things that they need to build phones that what if we situate the company here in Nigeria? Or maybe, I'm even thinking maybe they export it to them in its rawest, crudest form. So you can actually refine it to a certain level and sell it for more money. I'm going to keep this, and I recommend that you do so too. I'm going to keep this, and when Peter Obi wins, because he's going to win, there's no way, there's no other option on that ballot that can give us a country that we deserve. I would like to compare this graph with what they will have maybe after, give them 4 years. This blue from oil should have reduced considerably by then, and the agricultural goods, because of this agricultural revolution, would have increased by a lot, at least 50%. Yeah? Which kind 1.4%. Hey, the one on the right are our imports. Manufactured goods takes the cake, 73%. There's nothing wrong with imports. Eh? The thing is, you need to have balance of trade. If you check the details of these manufactured goods, you'll find out that a lot of them, we can make them in Nigeria, like pencil and toothpick and all those things, matches. A lot of them are very simple. We can make them in Nigeria. So these are what needs to be looked at and see the ones we can actually make in Nigeria. For instance, why would a country like Nigeria be importing tin tomato paste? Why? This one on the right is really something to cry about. Eh? This is the projection to 2050, from 2015 to 2050. And you can see that by 2050, it's still oil leading, but now needs to be reversed. If we continue on this path we are on, the contribution of agriculture will continue to reduce. This is not a good thing. And you know that oil is a diminishing asset. Who knows whether we'll still have oil by 2050. If you're enjoying this video, if you know people that can benefit from this video, copy the link and send it to them on WhatsApp, in your town hall meeting group, old boys, old girls association meeting, anywhere. Because all of us need to spread the word about this manifesto that will take Nigeria from consumption to production, and all of us will be happy.